Well, good morning. My name's Stephen. Thank you for joining us on this YouTube and training video. We're here today to help you understand a few different things, and I've done these to help people understand how these mechanical systems work, about the Greener Home program. But today we're going to specifically be talking about how the ventilation system works in most homes, and in particular about the fresh air intake. So I'm at a home here. We're going to go down to the mechanical room. We're going to have a look at how the fresh air intake is connected. Why is there fresh air intake? Maybe different ways to improve the energy efficiency of the home by controlling the ventilation system. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what is fresh air intake, why do we have it, and then look at the different choices. So if you had an energy advisor in your house, he's probably spoken to you about this already, and this is really just to expand on that information. So let's start off having a look at what is a fresh air intake. Let's just flip the camera around. Okay, so what we want to have a look at here is this is the fresh air intake from outside. Let's have a quick look at what we can actually see. As you can see, the opening from the outside there has got spray foam to make sure it's well sealed. What we're specifically talking about today is that fresh air intake. That's that pipe duct. If you get a better look at it there, that is the duct that has the plastic cover on it. You can see it's a 6-inch diameter fresh air intake. Okay, so fresh air intake meaning outside air comes into your home. The other duct adjacent to it, this one here, has a supply air register. That's a supply air, and this comes into the return air side of the ductwork. Because it's on the return air, there's a negative pressure in the ductwork, and therefore this will be bringing outside air in because that duct where it goes into is in the negative pressure. But let's have a quick look at the furnace itself. That's the back side of the furnace. On the right hand side is the supply air. That's where the humidifier is connected to. You can see the supply air comes off, and then on the left hand side that is the return air, and in this case the humidistat has been connected on the return air because that gives us a better average humidity of the home. So not a bad place to connect it. The alternative is to connect it to something like an Ecobee thermostat, which has a ability to adjust the humidity based on outside air temperature. So that's called an ambient reset. The other thing that I'd like to point out while we're here, you can see most of the joints on the ductwork have been sealed with a foil tape, not duct tape. Duct tape will dry out and come loose. And why? Because we want to get the heat to where we want it. But that's not really what today's whole conversation is about. What we want to talk about today is about how do we control that ventilation air and the fresh air coming in. Again, if you've had an evaluation done by one of our team at the VT group, either VerdaTech or Acacia Engineering, they would have discussed this with you. And I just want to really reinforce the knowledge that they have passed on to you and expand on that. So I'll be back now. I just want to talk to you from the other side of the camera. Okay, so here we are, we're back now, and I'm going to get a chance to actually chat to you a little bit. So why do we actually care about the fresh air intake? So one of the things we almost always recommend is running that furnace fan, maybe not continuously, but on a regular basis. The furnace fan should be controlled from the thermostat. You can put it on a schedule. Why would we want that? The idea is if we're mixing the air in the house, we bring in more, we're moving air around, we get better filtration as it goes through the return air. It gets filtered every single time, but you also get more even temperature throughout the house. The house I'm standing in right now is a 2-story back walkout, 1 furnace, which means we need to mix it so we don't get that stack effect that creates different pressures and temperatures without the home. Mixing it up, running it on a more continuous basis. So if you're thinking about a furnace, and we're going to talk about furnaces as a totally separate conversation, make sure you get one with an ECM motor. That's a motor that will use a little bit of energy, but it runs slowly and it mixes the air all the time. But if you're going to do that, think about what's going to happen. We were showing you earlier on about that return air that was there. That's always under a negative pressure if the furnace fan is running. So what you can do is you can get something like this, and this is called a Hoime damper. What I mean by that is, or that's the manufacturer on that is a guy out of Camrose. Cliff Hoime is the guy who makes these. I'm sure there are other brands out there as well. But this is a Hoime make-up air damper. We're not talking about the combustion air damper. We're talking about the make-up air damper. So what this does, this is wired such that it's connected to the furnace so that when the furnace heating system is on, the damper opens up. So there the damper is in normal open position. They can order them different ways. But when when the heating is on, and only when the heating is on, you would be able to open up the fresh air damper. that means fresh air would come in from outside that we were looking at earlier. Fresh air comes in from outside, goes through, gets heated up, and doesn't show up as cold air. The problem with running the furnace fan almost continuously is that when the heating is not on, you get this cold air coming through your registers because it hasn't been preheated, it's just been mixed. It is actually a code requirement today on any brand new home. They must put in one of these dampers. It is a requirement today. So if you've got an older home that hasn't got in, I would recommend when they're doing a furnace upgrade or you're doing some maintenance or even draft proofing on your house, think about getting a HOYME, that's H-O-Y-M-E, make-up air or fresh air intake damper. That's what these look like. I would actually recommend mounting it closer to the outside. This one here would be closer to the inside, and this would only open when the furnace fan is actually heating. So that meets code requirements, gives you the fresh air when the fan is running, but when you're just circulating the air, the damper is closed. How does this tie into the Greener Home program? Well, one of the things that is in the Greener Home program is draft proofing, air sealing, call it whatever you want. And one of the things is when we do a blower door test, which is part of the services we offer, is the Greener Home program grants, is when we run a negative pressure test with the blower door. As it stands now in this house without this damper being installed, we would measure that as air leakage. However, once that is installed, that would actually close that off, and that only is air leakage, which is not air leakage at that moment, when the furnace fan is running. So it is closed whenever the heating system is off. So you would measure that as also air leakage improvement. So one is going to make your house more comfortable. It's going to save your energy. It's going to allow you to run those furnace fans on a continuous basis, which we strongly recommend to be able to do, and that will help you. So think about a HOYME damper, think about your fresh air intake, understand the concept of bringing it in when you're heating it up. It's going to get the other thing. There is other controls you can do with this. You could, in the summer months, connect this to a temperature sensor for outside. So when it's cooler outside, you can get some free cooling. It's just a different way of wiring it. So we'll do the exact same thing that we're talking about right now, that when the furnace fan is on but no heating is called, no fresh air is coming in. However, you have either a switch, which could be a manual switch, or a thermostat that says you want some cooling in the house, you can allow fresh air in, and that would be great for places like Calgary, places that get cooler maybe in the evening, and you can take advantage of free cooling. So one more time, just to recap, this is your fresh air intake. It's a HOYME, H-O-Y-M-E damper. They're manufactured right here in Canada. They don't sell them directly from the factory as far as I know, but feel free to go to their website, talk to your heating contractor. It's going to help you on draft proofing or air sealing. It's going to make your house more comfortable, and I strongly recommend that you run your furnace fan on a more regular basis and have those controls. In a little bit in one of our other videos, we're going to talk about furnaces and selecting of furnaces, and by having that ECM motor and running it on a more regular basis, that's part more of a furnace selection. So if you already upgrade your furnace, you may just need the damper. If you haven't, when you talk about furnaces, do this at the same time. So once again, thank you for watching my videos. Again, this is the VT group of companies. One of the easiest way to find us is energyexperts.ca. This ties into the Greener Homes program. Hopefully this will help you there. Go to our website, energyexperts.ca. We're part of the VT group, which is VerdaTech, Qualistat, and Acacia Engineering. Qualistat is a building envelope and consulting company. Have a look what they do. We've got some great videos there with Daryl, which shows you things about attic rain, other things that you may want to know about John. Signing off again, please watch our YouTube channel, and thank you for watching. And my name's Stephen from VerdaTech. Cheers. Well, good morning. My name's Stephen. Thanks for joining us and joining our YouTube. This information is for our wonderful clients that help do the energy evaluations. Those people want to understand a bit more about windows. There are government grants out there for people who are upgrading their windows, and that's what we're going to talk a bit about today. But we're going to have a bigger conversation around windows and doors and make sure everybody understands the reason behind them. So I've come to a house here today where we're going to look at different choices on how do you upgrade windows and why would we upgrade windows in a home. So this house we are today is a 1990 home, so you can see where there's a lot of windows, lots of big windows in this home, and it is time to think about when your home's getting older, to think about upgrading different windows. So we're going to go around and have a walk through the house, but at the same time we're going to have a big conversation around the government grants. We're going to have a conversation about, So let's get into the home first. About the government grants, about reasons for upgrading windows and different choices that you have. So now that we've got into the house, and if you have a look around, I'm just going to do a quick spin, you'll notice that there's lots and lots and lots of windows. Okay, this house actually has 37 windows in it, it's 1990, fairly typical for the era. But there's one area in particular I want to sort of take you to, and that's the living room area. And you'll notice that behind me, you'll see that there's some really big windows, a very big window behind me here. That used to be a very cold and uncomfortable area. And then the other area I want to touch on is this area here of the home, which is I call it the turret. If you have a look at all of these windows. This is true both on this level and upstairs, but there are lots and lots of windows in the home. So again, 1990, the windows that were in this home were some Gino windows with the swiggle bar, which had failed. So one, they were as ugly as anything because you had the moisture going between the windows. And secondly, they were really uncomfortable. So this area here we are, which is in the kitchen area, was so cold and uncomfortable you really couldn't enjoy the space. We had the same thing happening when we went to the master bedroom. Again, you'll see the same sort of configuration. Let's head up quickly upstairs. So why would somebody think about changing windows in a house? One, I had windows that had, let's say, failed. The swiggle bar had failed, we got moisture between the windows. And for that reason, it was, they were really ugly. But the other one was, again, let's have a look quickly at the windows on this area. Look at the amount of windows. So you can only imagine how cold and uncomfortable this area was. We upgraded the ceiling insulation, all of that, but we still had an issue with comfort. So why do we replace windows? Firstly, comfort. In my case, energy efficiency, or say comfort, was probably the driving factor for me to upgrade my windows. That's one of the main reasons I would do windows. Other reasons, aesthetics, makes windows look nicer, better from a resale value point of view. And then obviously there's energy efficiency as well. So windows are more energy efficient. There's lots of reasons to choose different types of windows or different types of glazing. So some of the factors that you need to consider, one is what we call the U value, which is ultimately the insulation value of the window. And you have to hit certain targets to be able to qualify for the government grants. That's the Greener Homes program. So click the link at the end of this video. There are lots of information, energyexperts.ca, on what the grants are, and we're going to discuss those briefly today. So look at ER number, that's the energy rating number, is another one, which is an overall performance of the window over a heating season. Does it lose or gain more energy? So you have to look at that as well. You've got other factors as well. There's different coatings like low E argon, also low E coatings. Argon, krypton is another gas. What does the argon actually do? It slows down this transfer of energy from inside to outside. So it really does help the window to perform better. So there's a gas that goes between the two panes of glass. It's typically going to be argon gas. The newer, more high performance windows don't use air anymore. It's argon. Krypton is another one if it's a narrow space window. So typically a 1/4 inch spacing window would use a krypton gas. You've got your low E or low emissivity coating, and that coating is a coating on the glass, and there's lots of selections. You've got to think about which way do the windows face, the performance of the window. So you've got for north facing, south facing. You don't want to overheat your building either. So then you've got another one called visible transmittance. How much natural light is actually going to get in through that window, and what does it look like? So that's your visible transmittance number. Have that conversation with your window guy, making sure that you get some good visible transmittance. And the other one is called solar heat gain coefficient. That's the ability of the window to let energy in. It's between 0 and 1. You want to be able to let that energy in, particularly here in Canada, where we do have a colder climate. We want that energy in, but we need to provide some shading. So a good solar heat gain coefficient is really, really important so that we are able to let the energy in, particularly in the winter months when the sun is low in the sky. You get some good shading, or say deciduous trees that can give you the shading in the summer months, but allow the sun in the winter months is another consideration. So we've said change windows, environmental, better from the environment. Change windows because It's going to make your house a lot more comfortable. It's going to reduce the sound coming in from the outside. You're going to reduce condensation on your windows as well. You're going to have a better house to sell. So there's some of the main reasons to think about upgrading your windows. So what the government has done is they have also come out with a government grant that will help pay some of the additional costs. They're not going to pay for all the window costs. But if you're buying a window and you have a U value that is 1.22 watts per square meter per degree Kelvin or better, you can get $125 per window. And that's, when I say per window, we're talking a rough opening. So each one of those holes behind me is a rough opening. So remember, it's $125 per rough opening if your window is 1.22 U value or better. Or you could look at it as an ER number, and the ER number has to be better than 34, my apologies. 34 or above gives you an ER number. If it's better than that, you get 125 per window. If you want to go to the higher performance window, which is what I would recommend, you need to have a U value of 1.05 or better, or should I say not an or a U value of 40 or better. And there is $250 per window. If you're doing doors, you can also do an Energy Star rated doors. All the windows must be Energy Star rated. Please remember that all windows and doors must be Energy Star rated to qualify for the government grants, and they are per rough opening. On the door side, if you have a U value for the door of, again, 1.22 or better, then it would qualify, or an ER number of 34 or better, then you would qualify. So make sure you're talking to your window company, making sure the window they're installing does meet those criteria. They must be on a list. You can find them if you go to our website, energyexperts.ca. You can find our link to the government grant program, and you can understand what all of the different options are. But all the windows that are to qualify a grant, it must be on the list, and it must meet these criteria. So I'm giving you lots of reasons to think about changing windows. There are a few other things I want to touch on in a few moments, but make sure you get your energy assessment done before you do the window upgrade. That is absolutely critical. The government grant program, the Greener Home program, does require an energy assessment in advance and an energy assessment afterwards. So go to energyexperts.ca and you can find us there, and you can book your assessment through energyexperts.ca, and that's through the VT group. We'll talk about the different companies in a bit. So what have I done on this house? So this is why I sort of decided we should talk about this house. I've gone for triple low E argon windows on this home. It changed everything about the home. The furnace doesn't run as often on a short cycling. It's way more comfortable. I've got a 2-stage furnace in this house. I don't get the condensation. I used to get so much ice buildup on my windows. I've spoken in some of my other videos about making sure that the humidistat is correctly controlled. You're controlling the humidity based on outside temperature. Again, that's Ecobee tied to your humidifier, which is then tied to outdoor reset. So it's an ambient reset humidistat, and change the humidity accordingly. But that paired with triple pane windows, well installed, made sure they're airtight and sealed. That's where you use the blower door. Make sure your contractor's doing a really good job to draft proof those windows. So look at all the benefits that you get by upgrading windows. Comfort, resale, aesthetics, less ice on the windows or less condensation on those really, really cold days. So think about upgrading your windows. Hopefully this helps you make some decisions. Don't forget that there's some rules that NRCan has. This is very important. Please don't ignore what I'm just about to say. There's 3 ways you can prove you've met those criteria of those windows. 1, leave the label on the window. Don't take the label off the window. Leave it on until the advisor has come to the home. Sometimes people don't like that because they want to take it off the window and makes things look a little bit better. Sure, I do understand that. But in that case, you must take a photograph of each window as it's installed and a photograph of the label on that window for every window that was replaced. So again, as a homeowner, you're allowed to do this. As a contractor, you can do this. Again, let's go through that one more time. If you want to take the labels off, you must have a photograph of this label plus a photograph of the window with the label on per window that's been replaced, and that is sufficient way to prove that you've met the criteria. Obviously, as long as they met those U values and ER numbers. Please consult the NRCan guidelines. Go to energyexperts.ca, look for the tables, look for the links to the Greener Homes program, and you can make sure you've done that. There is an alternative way and a third way, but that is on your invoice from the window company, the NRCan reference number must be listed on the actual invoice, that window meets the NRCan, and that proves it's on the list. So windows must be on the list. They must meet those criteria. There's no ifs or buts. And if you do that, then you would be able to qualify for those grants. So you're getting lots of reasons to upgrade windows. As I said, I've done triple low ER on here. I guess the other thing before I close off on this one is to talk about is that if you're going to spend any money on windows, why not go the best you can? You're not going to do them again in a hurry. You want to make sure that you've dealt with that sound, the comfort, the moisture. The whole home is just so much better because you've done it. Once you've spent the money, you've already spent most of it by doing the windows. So go for the best you can right from the beginning is my recommendation. Again, let's just look at this living room here. You can see this large window. The comfort levels that have been improved by doing the glazing or the change outs on these windows is absolutely fabulous. I don't get the moisture. It's a much better house and much more comfortable. And oh, by the way, I can see through them. We're not with the condensation. So thanks for watching my video. Again, please make sure you go to energyexperts.ca. My name is Stephen. Hopefully this helps you out. Hopefully you've had an assessment done. Don't forget to get your follow-up done when you've done all the upgrades you want to do. You're going to see improvements in both air leakage. You can see improvements in so many respects. If you haven't done an assessment, you're thinking about doing windows, go to energyexperts.ca. You can look to that's the part of the VT group, and the VT group consists of 3 different companies. VerdaTech, which is an energy consulting company, Acacia Engineering, which is a mechanical engineering company that helps with energy consulting. We also do residential energy assessments there as well. And the third one is Qualistat. So Qualistat is a building envelope company. There's a lot of great information on that website. Please go and look at theirs. Subscribe to Qualistat as well, where we deal with attic rain, we deal with moisture, we deal with helping homeowners operate their homes better, but mostly on the problem side. Lots on the new home and existing home. So again, thank you for watching. My name's Stephen. Please subscribe, watch our videos, and hopefully this was useful. Energy Experts, that's plural, .ca is probably the best way to reach us. And thank you for watching. Hi, my name's Stephen. I'm from energyexperts.ca or VerdaTech or the VT group. Today I want to chat to you a little bit about home ventilation, and one in particular, one of the technologies I want to chat about is an HRV versus an ERV. Particularly today I want to talk about the one item behind me here, which is the LD's ERV or energy recovery ventilator. So once your house is really well sealed, you've done a blower door, you know your house is fairly airtight, you want to make sure you've got good ventilation into your home. Why do you need ventilation? You want to make sure your house is healthy, you're making sure you've not got too much humidity, not enough humidity in the home, and a good ventilation system is what you want. But the particular thing I want to talk about on this LD's product, there's the name up there. If you look carefully above me, you can see LD's is the brand that we are looking at here. And why I use this in so many of our mechanical designs is because this has a product called a ZRT or a zone control. So normally with an HRV, if that's your primary ventilation, get rid of your bathroom fans, you know, you want to sit in that tub and have a nice glass of wine and you don't want that fan making all that noise. One, maybe get a quieter fan, but the alternative is to get something that is in the mechanical room, something like an HRV or an ERV to provide the right amount of ventilation. But you want to be able to do this in such a way that it's not noisy, so you get rid of the bathroom fans. But when you take, let's just say, an HRV, ERV, that goes from 50 CFM all the way up to 100, what happens is all the bathrooms go up at the same time. So in other words, if you had four bathrooms and in a home, and you went from 50 up to 100 CFM, you would be going from 12.5 CFM each up to 25 CFM each, and all of them go up simultaneously. What I love about this technology from LD's is the ZRT. So what they do, it's again, just take an example of 4 bathroom fans. Instead of all of them ramping up at the same time, you set each bathroom to, let's make it 12.5 CFM. So that's your 50 when it's at low speed. As you ramp up the speed by touching the 20, 40, 60 minute override, the unit goes from 50 CFM or to, let's make it 100 CFM as a worked example. When it gets to that 100 CFM, instead of them all being 25 CFM, the bathroom that you're in, creating the most moisture and contaminants, will ramp up to, I'd have to work the numbers out, let's say in the region around 60, 63 CFM. In other words, the other three will be at 12.5 CFM each, so that's 37.5, and therefore the bathroom that you're in would be 63.5 CFM for that one bathroom. So in other words, that one bathroom gets most of the ventilation, the others will stay at the lower one, and this becomes a zoned control ventilation system. So where you've got the contaminants, the moisture, you can control getting rid of it, and this is going to make so much difference. Why do you want to get rid of bathroom fans? I spoke about the noise, but every single bathroom fan that you put into your home is going to have another penetration to the outside. And if you've got a bathroom fan, it's not going heat recovery. So you really want to do something like an HRV or an ERV that you can recover that energy of the air that's leaving with the air that's coming in from, from the air that's leaving going into the air that's coming in. And the difference between an HRV and an ERV, heat recovery ventilator, is an HRV. It is only looking at temperature recovery. However, when you talk about an ERV, which is energy recovery, it also recovers some of that humidity. So if you're watching in Alberta, which a lot of our clients are in Alberta, we've got lots in BC, Saskatchewan, Ontario as well, but a lot of our clients are here in Alberta, it's very, very dry. That's static electricity. We need to be able to bring some of that moisture back in. So consider installing something like an ERV rather than an HRV, and really when you look at the controls, make sure you're thinking about something like a ZRT. If you want some more information, please go to the Aldi's website, go and have a look what they've got on the in some of the descriptions, some more images. This is a ZRT. This is what it looks like. If you look carefully in the back here, let's see if I can change the way we're looking at it. In the back here, we have a damper, and that is the motorized damper that allows for that control. So the concept behind this is it's a zoned control ventilation system. You don't over ventilate, you get the ventilation where you need it, when you want it. This box behind me, the Aldi's product, we're sitting in your mechanical room, which makes it really quiet. We're sitting here in my office in Calgary. That's where I am right now, just where I did talk a little about this as we can see the product. So if you like this is helpful, please go to their website, Aldi's, to the website, look at the link below, remember the ZRT and why you want to ventilate. Lots of other videos hopefully to help you understand how to ventilate, different types of heating systems, lots more to come as well. So thanks for watching. Please go to energyexperts.ca. Again, my name's Stephen. You can find us at energyexperts.ca. Click on the link below. The other thing is obviously go and have a look at Acacia Engineering. When we do mechanical engineering for residential, we do a lot of high-end homes. This is typically what we're putting in those, and we normally put those with the hydronic heating system, which you can see in the background. That's the best way to go. Again, thanks you for watching. My name's Stephen, and please share and like this video. If you like friends or family who should know more, please share this with them. Good morning, everybody. My name's Stephen. I'm here from the VT group of companies, and that is VerdaTech, Qualistat, which is a building envelope consulting company, and Acacia Engineering, which does mechanical engineering. We had a home here. We often use this house as one of our show homes to talk about different technologies. And today I want to talk to you about furnaces. That's the heating system. So in the government programs currently, the Greener Home program, yes, it is correct. There are no grants for doing furnaces. That does not mean that's not the right technology for certain areas. So if, for example, in Alberta and Saskatchewan, furnaces are one of the better ways to go from an energy efficiency point of view. We can talk later about heat pumps. We have some other videos that we've done on heat pumps and more that we will be adding. So in Alberta, natural gas is relatively inexpensive compared to natural gas. At the current rates today, and we right now at the beginning of, or end of January 2022, the rate on natural gas is about $6.50 a gigajoule, and the rate of electricity is somewhere in 15 to 18 cents a kilowatt hour. That's the rate of everything in. Those are all your taxes, the delivery charges, variable fees, all of those different things. So it's about a $45 per gigajoule for electricity, and it's about $6.50 a gigajoule for natural gas. So somewhere in the region of a 6.5 to 1 ratio. So it's a big, big ratio difference. The other ones, we can get furnaces now that run somewhere in that 98% efficiency range, so we can burn gas very, very efficiently. So one thing I do recommend to people all the time, if you have a furnace that's somewhere in the region of around 20 years old, yes, there are no government grants. I fully understand there are no current government grants, and I'm not sure if there ever will be, but there's no grants currently for furnace replacements. Does not mean it's not one of the better things for you to do in your home, particularly in Alberta and Saskatchewan. So if you're going to upgrade your furnace, that's what we need to think about. How are we going to upgrade our furnaces? What furnaces should we upgrade to? And let's talk a bit about furnace selection. So let's go and have a look at this furnace that's installed here, and then we'll talk about furnace selection. Well, here we are, we're down in the mechanical room. I said we'd look at the furnace from the other side. So just a couple of things that point out. This is a high efficiency condensing furnace. How do I know that? If you look at the venting, the white venting, that is what we call CPVC. That is goes directly to the outside. And then the other one is the fresh air intake. So this is what we saw in one of the other videos. This is the fresh air intake of air coming in from outside. Okay, so air goes in, you can actually hear the furnace firing up there. There's been a bit of a heat core. So in this case here, we've got fresh air coming in, it gets burned in the combustion chamber and goes to the outside. So we can't even get combustion spillage on this on the basis that it's a fully closed combustion chamber. I strongly recommend anybody installing a high efficiency furnace, ask your contractor to do a 2-pipe system and not draw combustion air from the space. There used to be a combustion air duct in this room. That's been taken out because it's not necessary, on the basis that we're pulling air from outside. And we also have the same thing on our hot water tank. We will talk about that as a separate video. A couple other things I'll point out while we're here. If you look carefully here, we have on the side of the furnace, we actually have an Energuide rating. This was done a while back. The original, this house here originally had an Energuide consumption of about 190 gigajoules per year. It was changed with the hot water tank and the furnace to 155. A typical new home, about 129. So this house hasn't yet had an upgraded label. This is your ERS version 15. If you want to know more about these, watch some of our other videos. And also go and have a look at the Energuide rating system or energyexperts.ca. So that's where you'll find information. So let's quickly look at what's going on in this furnace, and then we'll talk about furnace sizing. So as I said, we've got fresh air intake coming in. That's the black pipe. The white pipe, that's the vent to outside. It is a sealed system. This one is a carrier furnace 58 TP6A. The BTU input is 114 and the output is 111,150. So it's a single furnace, one house. As you can see, the input and output, not a huge difference. This is a 96% efficient furnace. In other words, only 4% is actually going out of the chimney. The rest of it is staying in the home as a heat source. The other thing you can see that the contractor did on this install, you can see all the ductwork joints have been sealed as much as possible, even though this is an older home. That's over here we have our humidifier. Yes, homes in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and other areas with good ventilation, you will need a humidifier, and make sure it's well controlled. That on the left hand side is the humidification control, or humidistat, and that should be adjusted based on ambient temperature. One way to even do that better, have your contractor make sure that that's wired to something like an Ecobee thermostat. That's what I have in my house. That's what I love. Ecobee does a great job on their thermostats, and they will change the humidity automatically. It's called an ambient reset humidistat. It gets wired to the humidistat. Mine hasn't because I haven't had the chance to do that yet, but that is something I would strongly recommend. But putting on the return air is not a bad way to go because it gives you a bit of an average humidity of the home. And again, that should be adjusted. So there's our furnace. Just go a few more things on this one here. You don't normally have to know a lot about them, but here on the right hand side, that's your filter. That needs to be maintained and looked after, and make sure that that's clean so you get the fresh air coming through. This is a 2-stage furnace. So let's have a bit of a conversation about furnace sizing and also about selecting a furnace. So what we want to chat a little bit about here is about furnaces, right? We've had a look at how this furnace is installed, what type of furnace we have. It's a high efficiency 2-stage. So when you're going to buy a furnace, bar none in Alberta, one of the best upgrades you can make to a house is installing a new furnace. I strongly recommend people be proactive. Don't wait until your furnace breaks down before you replace your furnace. Go out, get some quotes. I always recommend getting at least 3 quotes, but get some quotes, find out which brand, which company you want to work with, and then start saying the features that you want. What is important to you when you're selecting a furnace? So one of the very first things let's start with is what we call furnace sizing. So when we talk about furnace sizing, what we're saying is how much energy is lost from the house when it's minus 30 degrees outside, which is typically the design temperature for Calgary, maybe it's minus 32 in Edmonton. There's a special number that's used from the building code. It's called the design outdoor temperature. So it's not the coldest day of the year, it's the temperature we would mostly see 97.5% of the time. So that's how a heating system is sized. You say, how much energy do we need to put into the house when it's, let's say, minus 30 degrees, let's say for Calgary, how much energy do we need to put in to match the energy that's leaving? So a well-sized furnace means you're not going to pay too much for the furnace being too big. It's not going to short cycle. It's going to be running almost continuously when it's cold outside. That's normal. So if your furnace runs, you're holding the temperature and your furnace runs for long periods of time when it's really cold outside, you should actually phone up your heating contractor and congratulate him on sizing the furnace correctly. If it's short cycling on and off, the furnace is likely oversized. Typically in history, furnaces have been oversized, so if you're looking at a replacement, talk to your contractor about doing the correct heat loss calculation and ensuring the furnace is correctly sized, which will make it more comfortable, it'll be more efficient, and you'll get the right size furnace. So a heat loss calculation, which is what we call CSA F280, yes, you can contact us at energyexperts.ca and we can help you with that. If you do an ERS, Energuide rating system, through the Greener Home program, there is a heat loss in there. That is still the responsibility of the heating contractor to size it, but it will give you a guide on sizing of a furnace. So now that you've got your size, you know how big it is, and that's BTU per hour, you want to think about some of the other features, right? What you want: single stage, 2-stage, or variable capacity. Single stage is like having an on-off switch and only an on-off switch. What you really want is a minimum of a 2-stage, and maybe even thinking about going to a variable capacity furnace. So that means as it gets a little bit warmer outside, either it'll ramp up or ramp down as it gets colder. It'll adjust the amount of heat coming into the home based on the temperature outside or based on the demand. So a 2-stage will be like a small furnace and a big furnace built into one. So when it's cool outside but not really cold, it's going to run mostly on the small stage. That means it will run for longer, more continuous periods of time rather than being an on-off cycle. You do want more continuous, so you get a more even temperature in your home. So that's really, really important. I think at minimum you should be a 2-stage, but I do strongly recommend going to even a variable capacity. What brand you go to, I don't really have strong affiliations to any one brand or the other. I have Carrier in this house that I've known for years and years in my industry. They're a great company, but you've got Lennox, you've got Bryant, you've got Train. All the manufacturers make some great products. So talk to your contractor, find somebody you're happy to work with. The next thing you want to make sure of is you want it with a variable speed fan or an ECM motor. Why? Because you want to be able to run that furnace fan on a continuous basis to even out the temperature, better filtration, better humidity control, but you don't want it to be loud and noisy, and you don't want to get those drafts. Please go and have a look at our Hoimi damper video that we're talking about how you minimize those drafts or cold air coming in and improve efficiency. Again, go to look at the Hoimi damper discussion and how you can get those installed. Again, talk to your heating contractor about that. We will talk about heat pumps in another video, so if anybody's got interested in heat pumps, let's look at those from a different perspective later. So select a company you want to work with. Make sure you get a proper heat loss calculation. It's called a CSA F280. Make sure that I do strongly recommend that it's a 2-pipe install. Ask your contractor to make sure it's a 2-pipe if at all possible. Brings in combustion air, gets burnt in the heat exchanger, and then goes straight to outside. It's safer for you, it's safer for your family, and it's a really, really good install. Might make it a little difficult to do the install, but there's always ways to do it. But talk to your heating contractor. Sometimes it may make sense to change the domestic hot water at the same time as well. But have a look, chat to your heating contractor, and he can help you with the installation of that. So 2-stage variable capacity ECM motor. Make sure it's all wired. Even the fan is wired to the thermostat. I'm a big fan of those Ecobee thermostats. You hear me talk about them over and over and over again. And why do I like my Ecobee so much? I got one furnace I've got in the house, but I got a thermostat that sits in the middle of the home on the main level. But I've got these little sensors that go around the home that help us to even out the temperature. So hopefully that helps you on selecting a furnace. Make sure it gets correctly sized. And I'm going to actually go and grab, while we're here, let's go and grab one of those sensors so you can see what I'm talking about. And I'll show you the Ecobee thermostat. So this is the center of the home. There is the Ecobee thermostat. You can see on the wall here. And then this is attached to multiple sensors throughout the house. And therefore, what I do, this is a two-stage home. What I do with that is, here's my little sensor. There's the sensor that I'm referring to. This is in my kitchen living room area. What I do is I have them upstairs, I have them downstairs, and I can set different schedules, I can average. So think about getting an Ecobee thermostat and try and make sure that you have it well controlled. Set your schedules, get to understand the schedules. So if you have any questions, send us an email, go to energyexperts.ca. As I said earlier on, even though there's no grants, it is one of the best upgrades you can do for energy efficiency in Alberta, and I strongly recommend, if your furnace is around 20 years old or older, seriously think about changing their furnace. Don't forget to go and like us, but also go and have a look at the Hoimi damper conversation that we had. The other thing I just want to touch on before I leave, we'll have a different video on this one when it comes to air balancing. If you've got cold rooms, warm rooms in your house, different things like that, this isn't a function of a bad furnace or a good furnace. This is a function of air balancing. I'll do a separate video later on how you air balance and how you can even out those temperatures. But one of the best ways to start with is the right controls, i.e. the Ecobee. The other one is to run that furnace fan more or less continuously, or at least on the schedule. That's going to help you. And if you look around from my house here, you can see we came from a walkout basement. We've got an upstairs. This is one zone, one furnace, one thermostat. And with those controls, we have a much better way of controlling the temperature. So thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in one of the other videos. Visit us at energyexperts.ca. If you're looking for an energy assessment that can help you with a lot of this, go again to energyexperts.ca. Visit some of our other companies, which is Acacia Engineering, mechanical engineering that does full design for new homes and does a lot of these design calculations for our customers. Or if you've got building envelope concerns with moisture, humidity, designing the building envelope, that's our brand called Qualistat, and they've got a ton of videos there to help you with. So go and visit us, and hopefully we'll see you there. My name's Stephen, thanks for visiting us, and we'll chat to you soon. Hello and welcome to the VT Group or Energy Experts YouTube channel. Today I want to chat to you a little bit about hydronic heating and combi boilers and zoning. So again, my name is Stephen. I'm from the VT Group of companies. You can also find us at energyexperts.ca. So we're an energy consulting company. We're also a mechanical engineering company. And today I want to talk a bit about hydronic heating, that's heating with hot water, how this can help you with your basement, how this can help you keep your house warm. But I also want to talk a bit about temperature control and zoning. So hopefully you've watched a bunch of our videos. If you're interested in what we've done and what we've, some of our other videos that we've done, please share those, like us on YouTube, and let's get the message out and let's talk about how we can help you. So what we do is we are an energy consulting company, as well as mechanical engineering and building envelope, but to want to talk mostly about the mechanical and energy management. So we try to help homeowners like yourselves understand how to make their homes more comfortable. So if you look in the background, I'm actually at my office here. This is one of our demonstration facilities. We've got a hydronic heating system. So what the advantages of hydronic is, hydronic being hot water, in this case glycol, it allows you to do zoning. So in other words, you can provide heat to various areas of the home at different times with different controls, and we'll look at some of the control strategies in a little bit. So this is a hydronic heating system. I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll walk you through what some of the items are. So now what we want to talk about is what is it that we have on the wall behind me. So we've just got the camera flipped over so we can go through what the system is. Let's do sort of a bird's eye view of what we have. Over here we have a Aldi's, there's the manufacturer. This is a ERV, this is an energy recovery ventilator. We'll talk about that as a separate video. But remember, go and have a look at what Aldi's is, and go and have a look what they do. This has got a ZRT, or zone control. This is almost always what we recommend when it comes to residential evaluations. But most of what I want to do is focus on, for example, the Vesta combi boiler. So what is a combi boiler? This one does both domestic hot water heating and space heating. So one more time, this does domestic hot water, it's like an on-demand tankless, but it also does space heating. So this is our entire heating system for this building. There's a combi boiler, it does domestic hot water, and the hydronics on this one's a little more complicated. We've got it as a demonstration unit, but we've got a circulation pump. This is a Grundfos circulation pump. And then from there, we've got things what we call fan coil units. We've got baseboards, and we've got in-floor heating. So the space where I'm standing in right now, we have many of these different features. The in-floor heating is when you bury the tubes in the concrete. If you have a look carefully down here, there's the tubes that are running into the concrete. These are run probably on a 16-inch or a 19-inch on center, and we've got water running through those, or glycol running through those at about 140 degrees. So it's also got what we call an ambient reset, so it will adjust the temperature of the water based on outside air. That's called an ambient reset. We'll talk about why. I want to make sure you understand these in full detail. The other technology we've got, so we've got the in-floor heating there that goes in the concrete, heats the floor up. These are controlled with Tecmar thermostats. There's one Tecmar thermostat on the wall there. This system was put together by Viper Mechanical. Thank you, Dean and Viper, for this. Done a fabulous job. But let's talk about some of the other things. In-floor heating is one way to heat the space. The other one is we have radiators. So if you go look at some of my other videos, you'll notice I talk about doing a combi system with in-floor heating and or radiators. So these radiators can help with heating different areas of the home, like baseboards. So now we're back here, we're talking about other ways to heat your home. So this is what we call a fan coil unit. So a fan coil unit is like a furnace. The only difference is on the fan coil unit, you've got hydronic. There's a hot water coming in, there's a hot water going out. That goes through, and we heat the air kind of like a typical forced air heating system. And you can see the size of that's an iFlow. So please go and have a look at the link below and go and have a look at what an iFlow is. This often replaces a furnace, and we'll talk about tying this all together in a nice little bow later. Here is our control system. Please don't be overwhelmed about what's there. These are all our zone valves. So as you can see in this scenario here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different zones. This is all Tecmar controls. Okay, so remember I just spoke about we having 12 different zones, and I want to now have more of a conversation. How do we use this technology? Why would you put a combi system in? Again, we saw we got a force flow, that was the iFlow. That's like a furnace, it's like a radiator in your car. You've got the in-floor heating, which is in the area I'm standing in here, where we heat the floor, typical for basements, can be done on main floors, second floors, etc. Great to go under a tile. You've got the radiator, which is great for basements. And then you've got the different zones. So in every one of those zones we were just talking about, those allow you to have a different thermostat for each one of those zones, which allows me to control the house in so many different ways and different temperatures throughout. So I love my hydronic heating. It's the best way to go if you get the chance. Think about hydronic heating. But most of you guys who are watching this video are talking about a retrofit. So what would you do? This is very similar to what I've got in my house, and we've spoken about this. We wanted to go look at some of my other videos. What I would suggest, if you've got a cold basement or a cool basement, this is one of those bigger, more expensive upgrades. Think about getting rid of your hot water tank once it's come to the end of its life. Think about putting in a combi system, which means you can do domestic hot water and you can do space heating with it. And then you can put radiators, in-floor heating. In-floor heating is a little harder to do as a retrofit, but you can do some staple up, which goes under the tile in certain areas of the home. And this one gives you domestic hot water, it gives you zone control. You can put multiple radiators. You can break your basement into different ways, different areas, so you can heat them up at different times. So it gives you lots and lots of independent control. So think about if you've got a cold basement, you've got to really want to upgrade. When you do that, think about going to a combi boiler with some zone control, with radiators. Think about maybe even changing out your furnace to a forced flow or a fan coil unit, and that will give you your different force flow. You could add air conditioning to it as well. The last thing I want to talk about, and this, I have a specific client that we were talking to last week, where if you've got hydronic heating, you can only get so many BTU per square foot out. It's normally about 35 BTU per square foot is the maximum you can get out of a hydronically heated floor. So one of the first things you need to do is make sure that you know how much heat loss is coming out of that room. If it's more than 35 BTU per square foot, your hydronic heating probably won't be sufficient. But if you can get around 35 BTU per square foot or less, then your hydronic heating can actually make the world of difference and give you the heat you need for that space. The next thing you want to do is, obviously, if you've got concerns, you've got hydronic heating but you're not getting enough heat, make sure that that pump is working well, make sure there's flow. You can use infrared thermography to find out that there is water going through each one of those zones. Now, if you've got a hydronic heating in the floor and you know there's heat and there's hot water flowing through and you're still not getting the control, have a look at your control strategy. Make sure that, one, you've got the right flow rate, but also that there are the right zone valves and zone controls that you control room by room, area by area. So it should be a balanced flow system. So think about this way. You can, when you've got zone control, you can control multiple temperatures, many different thermostats. Tekmar is one of the biggest control brands out there. Go and have a look at their website, and that's Tekmar. Look at the link below. Look at a forced flow combination system such as the iFlow. Think about radiators. We showed you a few radiators, and think about in-floor heating. And these are really, really good ways to either retrofit a home or to, when you're building a home, think about these different technologies. So again, thank you for watching. Hopefully this helps you if you're looking at hydronic heating or hot water heating, thinking about upgrading, improving your basement temperatures, thinking about zoning and temperature control. Hopefully this gives you some guidance on this. Again, my name's Stephen. You want to find more about the different technologies, the Greener Homes program. If you need an assessment, give us a shout. Energyexperts.ca, or VT Group is the other one. Go and look at the different YouTubes we've done. Go to Qualistat, have a look at Acacia Engineering. Thanks for watching. Please like us, share this with friends and family if this was any good to if this was useful to you. Again, energyexperts.ca. My name's Stephen. Thanks for watching, and we'll chat to you soon. Cheers.